Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to address and talk about a very difficult and painful topic for all Ugandans. And this is corruption in Uganda. Uganda has been described now as the fraud capital of Africa, easily overtaking any other country in Africa as far as corruption is concerned. Many people, when we talk about corruption, they think of dictator Yoweri Museveni alone. But this demagogue has worked out a very clever system and used members of his family and the very close cronies around him to disguise, to steal, to cheat, and basically plunder all the resources, not only of Uganda, but of some of the neighboring countries, for example, the DRC. If we talk exhaustively about corruption in Uganda and about dictator Museveni's theft methods, we will take hours. I'll mention just some highlights. For example, what is not known is that many of the properties in Uganda are owned by either Museveni himself or his family. We'll take some hotels. Akamwesi is owned by Salim Saleh and Hope Mwesige. Aya Hotel is actually owned by Yoweri Museveni. JM Hotel is owned by Janet Museveni. Greenland Towers, owned by Janet Museveni. Roofings, owned by Janet Museveni. Samia Dairy Corporation, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Malaysian Furniture, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Nakumet Complex, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Cham Towers, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Crested Towers, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Imperial Royal Hotel, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Imperial Resort Beach Hotel, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Bidco Factory, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Umeme, which is the pain of 99% of Ugandans, with the poor electricity supply and the most exorbitant tariffs in the region, owned by Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the son of Yoweri Museveni. Uganda Telecom, owned jointly by Muhoozi and Janet Museveni. Entebbe International Airport, owned by Yoweri Museveni with some interest of Sam Kutesa. Orient Bank, Sam Kutesa. Garden City, Yoweri Museveni. Zain, Salim Saleh. Warid Telecom, Amelia Chambade. MTN Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. The ARV's Drug Factory, Yoweri Museveni. Speak Resort Munyonyo, Yoweri Museveni. WBS Television, Yoweri Museveni. There are many, many, many others. And for most of these properties, Yoweri Museveni and his cronies did not earn these businesses, did not establish these businesses from scratch as a normal businessman would do. Either they took over in the guise of privatization, or they took over from individuals like the former Greenland Bank, stolen from the owner and proprietor, Chigundu, or using other people and using government money, pretend that these are national assets when actually behind the doors, they are owned and controlled by none other but Yoweri Museveni and his family. Many of you know that Stanbic Bank is owned or controlled in the majority by Yoweri Museveni and Janet Museveni. The Kalangala Palm Project, where thousands of people were displaced, their land taken, and poorly compensated, if at all, owned by Yoweri Museveni. Apart from those properties listed, there are hundreds and thousands of other properties, particularly shop arcades, land holdings, private residences, which are perpetually on the surface owned by Ugandans, for example, Chirumira, but in real fact are owned by Museveni, and these are just a front. The money earned, they take a percentage, and the big bulk they take back to their master, Yoweri Museveni. Needless to say, such properties and such businesses don't pay tax. And if they do, it is minimal tax. This is the current state of Uganda. One would remember the privatization process and many parastatal bodies which were the pride of the nation, which were the backbone of the economy of Uganda, were blatantly stolen by dictator Yoweri Museveni and his cronies. The proceeds from these enterprises, so-called sale of enterprises, was never known. And Uganda as a country did not benefit. In fact, now, dictator Yoweri Museveni has got the audacity to publicly say he's a rich man. Many of us who knew Museveni when he came out of the bush, we knew he didn't even have decent shoes. We knew that he did not even have a decent house in Rachitula. And during the Bush War, he did not have a penny. The money was collected by Ugandans hoping to salvage their nation, not knowing that they are jumping from the frying pan into the fire. One of the biggest backbone of fraud, theft, and corruption in Uganda is Museveni's brother, Salim Saleh. I've mentioned just a few things that he owns. But some of you may not know that this goes much, much deeper. When Museveni came into power, he devised a means of starting what was called a security company, Saracen. Now, this is the force behind evictions, behind looting, behind theft, behind arms dealings, and behind invasions around the eastern Great Lakes region. Saracen is known to have armed deals, illegal armed deals. Saracen is known to be at the forefront of the looting of minerals from the DRC. And Saracen is known to be at the forefront in now stealing and dealings with Southern Sudan. Salim Saleh owns 45% of Saracen and Branch Energy 25%. Both of these initially were subsidiaries of a very infamous outfit called Executive Outcomes. This apparently disappeared and now is disguised under many forms, but principally under a company called Lifeguard. Fellow Ugandans, you know what is happening with the oil deals. This is a long story. You know what's happening to gold in Karamoja. This is a long story. And all these are being stolen in broad daylight without shame by dictator Yoweri Museveni and his cronies. Now, I've not talked about government projects yet, where the money either borrowed or donated or given to Uganda is blatantly squandered and stolen without shame. The Education Ministry is a good example with the primary school project, Education for All. Thousands and thousands of millions of shillings. It is estimated that about 600 billion has been lost in the Ministry of Education, and a big bulk of that under the stewardship of GM Muhwezi, who now has been brought back into cabinet.